Hello, good morning children. In the previous video I have explained History 6th chapter Kingdoms, Kings and an Early Republic part 1. Now we are going to learn part 2. Okay, up to what were the Varnas and how they have described who were Vaishyas, Brahmins, Shudras, how they were described in the ladder of the Varna system, all you have learned. Now let's go to learn Janapadas, that is Janapadas. Jana means people. Okay, so we are going to see here Janapadas. What are Janapadas? Okay, the Rajas who performed these big sacrifices were now recognized as being Rajas of Janapadas rather than Janas. Jana means people, but the Rajas who were doing sacrifices, the rituals, okay, they will be called as the Rajas of Janapadas. Janapada means here the people's places. So that means a kingdoms. Kingdoms, the Raja of the kingdom, like that. The word Janapada literally means the land where the Jana set its foot and settled down. That means here I told you na, here Janapadas means kingdoms, places where the people will stay and they will settle down. That place is called as Janapada. Some important Janapadas are shown on map 4, page number 57. Okay, here they have given you some Janapadas, children. All these dark circles places are there. Okay, they are the Janapadas. Let's see what are they. I will read out Avanti, Kuru, Gandhara, Kosala, Vajji, Hastinapura. All these kingdoms names maybe you have learnt in the previous classes. You have heard also about those kingdoms. Archaeologists have excavated a number of settlements in these Janapadas, such as Purana Khilla in Delhi, Hastinapura near Meerut, and Atranjikhera near Etha. The last two areas are in Uttar Pradesh. So Meerut, Atranjikhera and Meerut, these two places are in Uttar Pradesh. They found that people lived in huts and kept cattle as well as other animals. So historians found here that they have kept cattle here and they lived in those places. They also grew a variety of crops: rice, wheat, barley, pulses, sugarcane, sesame and mustard. So here they have done agriculture and reared cattle also. They made earthen pots. Some of these were grey in color. So these people in those kingdoms, they have made earthen pots which were in grey color. And others were, some of these were in grey color, others were red. One special type of pottery found at these sites is known as painted greyware. That is painted greyware. That means those people, they have made two types of pots, earthen pots. With mud they have prepared pots, and they are, one are grey color and second one is red color. Grey color and second red color. They were called as, and those painted special type of pottery also they have found, and they were called as painted greyware. As is obvious from the name, these grey pots had painted designs, usually simple lines and geometric patterns. So on these painted greyware, they have not only made plain pots, but they have made designs on those pots. Okay, that's why those pots were known as painted earthen greyware. Next, this is about Janapadas, children. That means one thing we have you have learned, that Janapadas means the places where people settle down and kings were used to rule those places, those kingdoms, and they used to call the kings of these Janapadas. And here in the Janapadas, historians found that they have cultivated many crops, many types of crops, and they have kept cattle also, and people here made pots, earthen pots also. This is about Janapadas. Next one is Mahajanapadas. Mahajanapadas. What are these Mahajanapadas? Let's see. About 2500 years ago, some Janapadas became more important than others and were known as Mahajanapadas. Okay, so in those Janapadas only some were important and they became famous. They were called as Mahajanapadas. Some of these are shown on map 4. Okay, I think these Mahajanapadas were Gandhara. They have written in big capital letters, children. Gandhara, Kuru, Panchala, Kosala, Vajji, Magadha, Anga, Avanti. All these they were written in capital letters. So these are very famous. We heard them many times. So these places were Mahajanapadas. Most Mahajanapadas had a capital city. Many of these were fortified. So these Mahajanapadas have a capital city also. They have a capital city. And fortified. Fortified means four sides with walls they were secured. Fortified. Here king's palace and kingdom will be there, and boundaries there they will keep boundary walls. So that place was that those kingdoms were fortified. This means that huge walls of wood, brick or stone were built around them. As I said, now these kingdoms, all the four sides, they have constructed walls, fortified walls, compound walls. Like that they have constructed with huge wood and brick and stones. Wood, brick and stones. Next. Forts were probably built because people were afraid of attacks from other kings and needed protection. So, why these kings, all of them, they have constructed like these forts? Because in olden days, there was a fear that often so many kings, they will attack these kingdoms. That's why they have fear and they constructed these forts to secure themselves. It is also likely that some rulers wanted to show how rich and powerful they were by building really large, tall and impressive walls around their cities. So here two reasons were there. Why they have constructed forts? First one is for security purpose. First one is for security purpose. Second one is to show their richness. Show their richness. How much wealth they have. Wealth, richness and how much wealth they are having. To show their wealth, they constructed forts. Also in this way, the land and the people living inside the fortified area could be controlled more easily by the king. And one more thing is, within the boundaries to rule and control these people, it is very easy to kings. That's why they have constructed like these forts and fortified kingdoms. Building such huge walls required a great deal of planning. Thousands, if not lakhs of bricks or stone had to be prepared. So, like these stones, these fortified walls, this much kingdoms at four sides construction of walls means it's not an easy task. They want thousands, lakhs of bricks and labor also. This is in turn meant enormous labor provided possibly by thousands of men, women and children. So, for the construction of these compound walls. As I said, they need more bricks, and at the same time labor also needed, thousands of labor. That means in the kingdom, whoever it may be, those people, men, women, including children, also participated in the construction of these walls. And resources had to be found for all of this. So construction, it is not an easy task. All the resources, whatever their human resources, the materials, and the money, all these things were required in a huge amount. See, they have given a compound wall picture, a fortified wall picture. Here one man is climbing, children. See, this is a fortified wall, one compound wall, one of the picture. This is the fortification wall at Kaushambi. This is a picture of remains of a wall made of brick found near present day Allahabad, near Uttar Pradesh. Historians found this picture. Okay. Next, the new Rajas now began maintaining armies. The new Rajas, after making their places as Mahajanapadas and these fortified, now this is the duty of the king to protect those people, his kingdom. So he has to maintain army also. Soldiers he has to recruit. Soldiers were paid regular salaries and maintained by the king throughout the year. So what the kings they will do, they will appoint soldiers and he will pay regular salaries, and throughout the year, whenever army battle comes or he needs the military, then he will use, and he has to maintain that army. Some payments were probably made using punch marked coins. So by that time there was no money. So what they used to do, they used gold and silver coins as salaries. So on those coins, punch marked, some print marked coins they used during the king's time. See the illustration on page number 92. Let's see, children, page number 92. Okay, these are the pictures they have given, children. See, punch marked, something designed coins they used for the salaries to the army soldiers. Next, so that is about Mahajanapadas. Next, taxes. So here one problem, how the king will get this much amount, this much gold, these many gold coins and silver coins to give salaries to these soldiers. How in previous chapters also we have learned, kings also used it to collect taxes. Like that, here also they have collected taxes from the people. How were the taxes and how, in which form they have collected? Let's see. As the rulers of the Mahajanapadas were building huge forts, maintaining big armies, they needed more resources. So for the construction of these forts and to maintain army, soldiers, they need more resources. And they needed officials to collect these. And taxes collecting one thing, for them that also they have to recruit employees. So instead of depending on occasional gifts brought by people, as in the case of the Raja of the Janapadas, they started collecting regular taxes. So during any processions or rituals, they will offer gifts to kings. But those gifts were not enough to fulfill all these resources, all these to construction of forts and maintaining armies. So what they have done, they have collected taxes, regular taxes. So in how many types of taxes were there, on what things they have collected taxes? Let's see now. Taxes on crops were the most important. So usually in those days, many of the people's occupation was on agriculture only. So they have collected first on agriculture. on crops. This was because most people were farmers. Usually, the tax was fixed at 1 by 6th of what was produced. So, agriculture means farmers. They have to pay tax as 1 by 6th of crop. Their crop, whatever they cultivated from that crop, they have to pay 1 by 6th part to the king as tax. This was known as bhaga or share. So this tax was called as bhaga or share. Okay. So the tax on the agriculture is called as bhaga or share. How much that one? 1 by 6th of the production. 1 by 6th of the production or 1 by 6th of the crop. Next, there were taxes on craft persons as well. There were taxes on craft persons. That means the people who makes things. On them also taxes were there. These could have been in the form of labor. For example, a weaver or a smith may have had to work for a day every month for the king. So here they are cultivating crop. That's why 1 by 6th they are doing. Here on the craft persons, how the Raja used to collect tax. These persons, whoever the skilled persons will be there, na, they have to work. Skilled persons have to work a day per month. A day every month. Monthly once they have to go and work. They have to work for the Raja. That was the tax collected by the crafts persons. Next, herders were also expected to pay taxes in the form of animals and animal produce. So, this is about crafts persons. Next one, herders. That means who were rearing animals. What they have to do? They have to supply animals and animals produce. That means milk, meat. Okay, animals produce. Wool, all these things they have to give to Rajas. So, in this way, they use it to collect taxes on the herders. Next person. There were also taxes on goods that were bought and sold through trade. So, on business also. In a bulk, if any people are buying and selling means, on them also trade through buying and selling. On that also, the goods, on goods, there were taxes. Okay, next. And hunters and gatherers also had to provide forest produce to the Raja. And hunters and gatherers. So these are the last category, hunters and gatherers. What they will do? They will give the produce, forest produce. Forest produce as tax to the Raja. So in a kingdom, all types of people. Farmers were there. Farmers, 1 by 6th of their crop. Craft persons, every month, one day, they have to go and work for king. Next, third category, herders. What they will do? They have to supply animals and animals produce to the king. Next, traders. Whoever sell and buy goods, they have to pay taxes. That means they have to give goods as taxes. Next category, last category, hunters and gatherers. What they have to do? They have to give forest produce to the king in the form of tax. So, like this, these Rajas collected taxes. Next. Changes in agriculture. There were two major changes in agriculture around this time. One was the growing use of iron plowshares. This meant that heavy, clayey soil could be turned over better than with a wooden plowshare so that more grain could be produced. So by the time, earlier time, they used to use wooden plows, but afterwards, after some inventions, they started using iron plows. So with that, the soil will turn very smooth, and the more grain also they can produce with that. Second, people began transplanting paddy. This meant that instead of scattering seed on the ground from which plants would sprout, saplings were grown and then planted in the fields. Earlier they used to sprinkle seeds in the ground, but that is not benefit to them, as they found that what they used to do, they will pour seeds in one particular land, and after sprouts will come, saplings will come, they will plant the seeds in the whole field. Like that, they adapted new methods for the better produce. This led to increased production as many more plants survived. However, it was back-breaking work. Generally, slave men and women were called as dasas and dasis in the kingdoms, and landless agricultural laborers had to do this work. So all this work these laborers used to do in the fields. Next, a closer look in Magadha. So here two capitals, two kingdoms, they have given example, children, that I will explain in the next video. I think till now you understood the content. Thank you. Have a nice day.